would win in a wrestling match, Lemmy or God?
Lemmy. God.
Wrong, dickhead. Trick question. Lemmy is God.
Oh, come on.
Welcome to Demasked. I'm Frezzman, and today I'm joined with Scream With Me Stories. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much for having me on today.
So, from what I can see here, you're primarily a horror narrator, yes?
Yeah, I usually focus just on true scary stories from Reddit.
So I know a lot of them say, true scary stories, but what's the ratio you would say that are believable?
Honestly, there's really no way of knowing. I'm more of an optimist, so I like to think that most of them, if not all, are. But there's really no way of verifying it unless there's actually a story linked to what actually happened, like a news article. So I want to say at least ballpark 75%.
That's fair, because I'm staring down the video that's called Walmart Horror Stories, and I'm like, yeah, that seems about right.
Yeah.
I used to work there, and so yep, plenty of otherworldly horrors to be seen.
So you're the one that's posting all these horror stories.
Yeah. When I wake up from my Walmart nightmare in the middle of the night and I start typing out the story.
Yeah, it's like, I gotta get this one out.
I need to tell somebody.
I gotta tell the world.
How long have you been on YouTube for?
A little over a month and a half. It's flown by so far.
How's that gone so far?
Going quite well. I've wanted to do for a little while now, and now with this whole Corona thing, I ended up working from home. Unfortunately, I was laid off, so that ended up giving me a lot of free time to dedicate to this, and I've had a really positive experience so far.
That's good. From what I've seen and when I've talked to other horror narrators, it seems that the overall community is very welcoming.
I definitely agree with that. That's one of the things I noticed almost immediately is I started posting videos, and then a channel reached out to me, Bad Vibes, which is an awesome narrator, really like his work, and a really down-to-earth guy, reached out to me and just said, hey, I'm really impressed with what you're doing. Would you want to do a collab with me? And at that point, I think I was only on YouTube for maybe a week and a half at that point, maybe even less than that.
I mean, it's not bad at all.
Yeah, and then from there, Night Stalker, another really great narrator, I ended up doing a collab with him, and then I've been in touch with Celestial Noir and a bunch of other narrators, and it really seems like it's definitely a strong community and a great group of people.
What would you say your favorite video on your channel has, like, what's your favorite video that you've gotten to work on?
My favorite video so far would actually be one of the ones I just recently published, and it was a stalker story that's about 14 minutes long, and it's called It Never Ends. It's just a very interesting story of someone who's been through the ringer with a stalker, and it's just a relentless story. It's a true story, and something about that just really hit home. I haven't necessarily had a stalker, but I've had situations to where I didn't always feel exactly 100% safe. So any kind of stalker story is usually one that I'll aim towards, and that one so far has definitely been my favorite.
I see what you mean. A link, the party people at home, there will be a link to It Never Ends in the description below. Check it out, please. I tried to listen to I used to listen to a lot of horror narrations a while back, and there was one video I listened to. I can't remember what channel it was, but a lot of them, I found that a lot of I mean, there's a couple of them that do not end well. But a lot of stalker stories where it's like the guy just walked off into the night and I never saw him again. okay.
Yeah, exactly. Two trains of thought with that. For me, it's more scary knowing that these people are still out there, you
Mm,
know? And I think that's one of the draws for me. Doing this whole narration thing is just, the what ifs in life that these people are there, and it's a scary world, and we all have to be as safe as we possibly can.
yeah. And even then, it could be anybody at any time, you know?
Exactly. I mean, you can't really necessarily point out who's going to be dangerous and who's not, Like, don't judge a book by its cover. Everybody looks different. Everybody, like I said, I try to be someone that's positive and optimist. So I try to find the best in everybody. And sometimes, that backfires, and you just have to be.
Mm, that's a fair point to make. I oh no. I'm staring down this three true Uber slash Lyft horror stories. Oh goodness.
Yeah, that was an interesting one to make. Um,
Oh.
Funny enough, the Uber stories and also the Craigslist stories, those are the ones that I originally started listening to when I first got into listening to true horror narrations. And I've had friends that were Uber drivers, and then I've also taken Uber drivers to and from bars and to and from friends' houses. And, you don't always know exactly who you're going to get in a car with. And I think just being you and another person in their car, it's a very vulnerable state that you're in. And I'm definitely drawn to those stories.
Mm-hmm. Like I took one. Uh, I believe I've told this story before, but I would love to tell you about it. I back in the early days of my channel, I was collecting masks. Well, I mean, I still am, but a lot slower. Um, I had I had painted a mask to like be hand painted by somebody else, and I was taking Uber to their house,
Mm-hmm.
and I had my mask wrapped in like a work shirt, and it's the middle of the night,
Uh-oh.
and I am a 6'2" bearded dude, and so I'm sitting there, and I have it like sitting on my leg, and it didn't dawn on me how strange the situation was until the guy who was driving, I was talking to him about Lyft driving. He goes, "Yeah, at least the vast majority of people I pick up aren't serial killers." And I stopped, and I'm like, "Well, I've got something to tell you."
He probably was so close to shitting himself.
Well, I looked at him. I'm like, thankfully, I'm not a serial killer, but I do have something to show you that if you saw it without context, you would think so.
It's like, I got this mask. What I use it for is, I'm not going to tell you.
It's fine. I interview people on the internet. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly right.
But I just very slowly like uncovered it. I'm like, yeah, yeah, it's a mask. I have a YouTube channel. I'm not going to tell you what it is though, because you've seen my face, and I can't have that.
Exactly right. It's like I want to be, at least somewhat unknown.
Well, that's always a fun one. Like even within my own family, it's like, what do you mean you have a YouTube channel? What's it called? I'm like, don't worry about it. It's fine.
Yeah, honestly, I've only told one person in my life about this YouTube channel, and it's my girlfriend, longtime girlfriend of a little over 2 years. So obviously, she kind of knows what I'm up to when, we're not having a date night or whatever. But,
Sure.
be, but beyond that, I really wanted the stories and the authors to be the main focus.
Mm.
So I didn't really want to publish my face. I don't really want to be known for it because I really want the stories to be the main focus.
Yeah, of
Like
course.
I really believe in that. Without the people having these horrible experiences and writing them down and submitting them, to Reddit or wherever, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing. So that's definitely something I've always talked about, and it's something that I've always, even before I had, the channel name or anything like that, any B-roll shot, like that was priority one. Respect and honor the stories and the authors.
Mm-hmm. So where did the name Scream With Me Stories come from?
Kind of dumb luck. I had probably, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 other names. And it's funny that you had mentioned previously community. And I really wanted this channel and what I'm doing to be community based, whether it's someone that's also a narrator, someone that just listens to him, or someone that's subscribing and submitting the stories. I really wanted it to be somewhere where people can be heard and discussed. So I wanted a name that represented all of us, scream with me, scream with us, a community of people just getting together and just, taking a minute to listen to a story, unwind, relax, and just kind of reflect.
Mm-hmm. That's a fair point. I really like that. What drove you to do narrations in the first place? Or is this your first channel, or did you start somewhere else?
This is my first actual channel. Um, I actually was a radio producer for 4.5 years for iHeartMedia, iHeartRadio, and also when I was in high school and in college, I was in a bunch of local bands, and I was always the person that had the recording gear. So that kind of
Mm.
snowballed into me having my own home studio. And then when I got into a position where I was actually on the radio doing either commercials or on live shows or, voice tracking actual DJ shifts and things like that,
Mm.
I started to get an itch where I want to be more creative. I want to do more things, not for a company, but for myself. What do I want to do? One of those things that I do when I'm driving to and from work or just driving around, if I'm not listening to music or podcast, generally listening to some horror narrations. And that's kind of where it all started, is I just really wanted to do something for me, something creative, and then just see where it went off, see what happens.
I actually really like that idea. I wish I had a background in radio. I do not.
It's fun. It really was. It was a fun, very hard, very stressful, crazy hours. Um, I know this sounds kind of douchey to say, but it is a lifestyle type of job. So it's something that you really do just live and breathe 24/7. It's an all encompassing type of job that you just kind of have to drop everything and do. If it's a live show, if something goes wrong, you have to be there. If some breaking news happens, I was the one to gather that information and book those interviews. And it was a lot of work, but I really loved it and really enjoyed it.
See, that's where I have to double down. It's like Demasked is a lifestyle. I have to be.
Yeah.
I have to interview. I have to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you'd mentioned chatting with Bad Vibes and Night Stalker. Have you been, contacted by any other channels?
I have been talking to Celestial Noir a little bit here and there, and I will say he was one of my first narration channels that I actually started listening to. Was him and also Mr. Nightmare. Those were the two firsts that I started listening to a couple years back.
Mm.
So it was really cool to chat with Celestial Noir and kind of get to know him a little bit, and he's helped me out quite a bit. But yeah, just on Twitter alone, I'm in contact with a bunch of different narrators. Some I've listened to for a little while, and some that I'm just now, listening to and, going back in some of their archives and discovering some of their great work. And it's been really cool getting to know some of these narrators that I've been listening to for, a couple of years at this point.
Mm-hmm. Do you plan on doing true stories from here to eternity, or are you gonna kind of branch off into other topics?
That's what I'm trying to decide right now. I don't have a clear answer. Maybe at some point I'll do some no sleep stories. I do have a couple stories that, some true stories that I would like to write down of my own encounters and voice those as well. So, I never say never with certain opportunities. So it just kind of comes down to the right one and the right ones that I feel are appropriate for the time. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't have any plans as of yet, but most likely down the road, yeah.
That's good. Do you have any what's it called? Why am I blanking right now? What's going on? I don't do this that often. uh, which would you say is your absolute favorite video on your channel to have worked on?
Um, Definitely like the one I mentioned earlier, the one that's called "It Never Ends."
Mm.
And then honestly, I'm a sucker for it. But my very first video, the second story that's in there, it's the name of it's escaping me, but I've gotten to know the girl that the story happened to. I wouldn't say on a personal level, but definitely an acquaintance level. And her boyfriend's actually helped me out on some recording gear as well. He works at a music store. And I would say just the connections of people that I've met that have had the experiences has been really great, really great to see. So anytime I can actually interact with and get to know someone on a more personal level after reading their story is it's really interesting and really cool. So that one is another one that stands out.
Do you have any personal horror stories
Of stuff that's happened to me.
that you're willing to share? I'm not gonna pry if you don't want to share.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of which one.
I killed a man.
No, 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 no. No, not at all.
Not yet.
No, 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 no. When I was 18, I was coming home from my girlfriend at the time's place, and it was probably around, I want to say, 12 at night, and I was driving down my street, parents' house, just kind of stumbling on about.
Hmm.
So I pulled over to see if he's okay. And for whatever reason, I don't know why my doors weren't locked, but he actually opened up my passenger seat and sat down and closed the door and just stared at me.
The hell?
Yeah. And I don't know if he was on drugs. I don't really know what the situation was, but luckily I actually had a box cutter knife in my, I think it was on, been several years. It was either in my glove box or kind of, where the handle is to the car door. But I put it up to him and just said, "Hey, you got to leave." And he just said, "Oh, okay, okay." And he got up and left.
That's oh oh.
Yeah, I mean, I'm butchering it because I'm, just kind of remembering it now, but that's something that has definitely been one of the standout moments when it comes to scary things that have happened.
That's I mean, at least you have the box knife. Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to see what I look like, I'm very unintimidating, but it just it's just something that happened. And I ended up driving around my neighborhood a little because I didn't want to head home right afterwards.
Fair point.
And I didn't see the guy again. He wasn't on any of the streets. I don't know if he went, if he happened to live in the neighborhood as well, or if he was walking through some other roads. I don't know, but I didn't see him after that.
You just faded away into the night.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Yeah, I'm at Jamlon Twist. There was no person.
I from what it sounds like, you're kind of like me in that regard, where we happen to attract crazy people.
Yeah, I think there's something to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, through the years, things just kind of happen to you, and you got to do your best, like I've been saying, to stay safe and try
Repress
to
it.
avoid as many of those. Yeah, repress it, and just try to handle everything,
What's that?
and just handle things as peaceful as you can.
Yeah, definitely. I I used to be a door greeter for a little bit at Walmart overnights.
Okay, so you definitely saw some interesting people.
Yes, and it like you know how there's that stereotype of like, oh, everybody who shops at Walmart is insane.
Then count me in because I was there, I think, yesterday or the day before.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Sure, that's pretty true for the daytime crowd, but the minute it hits like 10 o'clock, that's when all like people are climbing out of the bushes to walk into the store.
I can only imagine. Like, I really can only imagine the stuff that you had to witness doing that.
I once witnessed a cocaine fueled fist fight.
Okay, let's hear about that.
Yeah, let's break this down. Let's
Let's
cross
dive
examine
into
this.
this and let's unpack this story.
I love that. Let's unpack this. I I used to work in the grocery side, and I was walking towards the front of the building, and I see two guys engaged in a fist fight. Rather, one guy is trying to like walk away, and the other guy is just like punching him in the side of the head.
Good lord.
But the punches aren't affecting the guy. Like the guy's getting hit hard, but he's not breaking stride.
Oh, okay, so he's got like the Incredible Hulk thing going on.
Yeah, and so I'm just like I'm more dumbfounded than I am like, "Ooh, we gotta stop this fight." So I'm just like, hands in my pockets, like, what the hell's going on here? What is all this? And my manager runs up and breaks up the fight, and I clearly hear the guy who's throwing the punches saying, "I need to punch him in the face to save his life." Like, sure, man. If it was that important, fine.
Oh my god. Like, how long did the fight go on for?
It was like 2 long minutes of just watching a guy get punched in the side of the head and him not even flinching.
Jeez. I wouldn't even know how to react in that situation. Like, I feel like I want to say I would break it up, but I feel like I would just stand there and just watch it unfold.
I feel like if I were the person I am now back then, I would have broken it up like it was a minor argument. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
whoa, maybe let's just take a step back, figure out what's going on here. Let's unpack
Yeah,
this.
exactly. Yeah, let's unpack it.
Oh man, I when I was a door greeter, I had somebody walk in. So when I say I attract crazy people, it's to a degree where it's almost like somebody sent them just to talk to me. Because they'll walk past the other associates and go straight to me.
Really?
And I like to think I don't look like an insane person. I mean, I probably did. But I had a guy walk up and he was whacked out of his mind on something. And he starts telling me about like the fundamental secrets of the universe and how time doesn't really exist, man. And he's like, "Do you believe in alternate dimensions?" Like, not right now, I don't. And he like leaned in and he goes, "I haven't slept for 3 days."
Good lord.
And I'm like, "Cool, man, cool." And like, I'm very good at not engaging.
Yeah.
So I'm like, "Yeah, neat. Have a good night." And then he proceeded to not leave. I'm like, "Great. I'm gonna have to put up with you." And it was like 2 hours of vague conspiracy theories about lizard people and just whatever, whatever crackpot theory you can throw out there.
That sounds like an amazing tin hand foil night.
Yeah. And then he was escorted off the premises, told not to come back, and then he comes back, so they call the cops. And they escort him off the premises. And then I was done for the night. So I go home, like, and I had the night off. And then the next day I come back, and they're like, "Yeah, that guy came back. He was looking for you."
No way.
I'm like, great, cool. Like, what happened? And I'm like, is he still around? I just clocked on. Are you gonna tell me this right now?
Yeah, seriously, and I gotta work all day and think about this creep following me?
Yeah, and so apparently he had shown up the night before looking for me, asking for me by name, and they called the cops and they like just straight up arrested him and took him away.
Jeez.
And apparently he was screaming something about I need to sleep, I can't sleep, I need to sleep.
Well, I mean, if he wasn't sleeping for 3 days, he was definitely in another dimension.
Mm, definitely
Oh,
seeing
man.
something.
Yeah, seriously.
Who knows? He might not have even been stoned. He might have even just been tired.
Yeah,
Here's hoping.
exactly. You never know.
Here's hoping. Fingers crossed.
Seriously.
Have you ever worked retail?
I did for a little bit when I was in college. I worked at not sure if you're familiar, but the store called Guitar Center. It's like a
Mm-hmm.
musician type store. Yeah. I worked there for a little while. I want to say it was about a year and a half, and we would have some interesting people come in, usually more of the stoner crowd or, just dads or teenagers looking for just quick, cheap gear and stuff like that for the most part.
I I understand that way too well. That was me like 10 years ago. I'm like, I want to get a guitar because that'll make me cool.
I mean, again, that as stressful as retail was, other than Black Friday and like Christmas and stuff like that, it was a really fun job. We did have some higher profile people come in, and who was it? Wasn't It was Sinbad. I met Sinbad. He just like walked in. Yeah, he just walked in and just wanted a wireless system for his set that night. So sure, met him.
That's not what I was anticipating.
No one does when I tell that story.
Well, you said a higher profile. I'm like, okay, so like Lemmy Kilmister or
Well, that would have been the dream. Right
yeah,
there, that would have been the dream.
Lemmy walks in and is like, hey, can I get a guitar? And you're like, um,
Yeah. What do you mean? Why are you talking to me?
you can just take it, man. Just walk over and grab one.
You don't even have to pay for it. It'll come out of my commission.
You've earned it. Then after he leaves, like, did somebody just steal a guitar? No.
Well, they do say Lemmy is God, so it might have been God.
There's just a blinding white light that walks into the store.
Exactly.
Well, like I was definitely part of that teenage group stereotype of like, I have a guitar and I know somebody who owns a drum set. I should start a band.
I was definitely that kid, for sure, all throughout high school, all throughout college. And then, you start making money so you can actually invest in, your skills and your passion outside of, your parents paying for some stuff here and there. But yeah, I was definitely that kid as well.
Like I had the thought of like you could start a band, and then I had like none of the skill whatsoever, and in fact I had just started guitar lessons. So I'm like, yeah, I can do it. I can do this.
Yeah, funny story about that. I
Oh,
started playing guitar because my dad plays guitar. I picked up a guitar for, I want to say, 2 or 3 months and realized I sucked because I couldn't play anything, not even Teen Spirit. So I ended up just started being a singer instead. I learned how to sing more of the scream fry style. If you're familiar with different scream types, I ended up doing a lot of that.
I I'm familiar with the concept of like screamo, if that's what you're aiming for.
Um, I did more of in the style of I really, really tried hard to be a Corey Taylor type for sure. Um,
Okay.
definitely when I was in high school, and even now, Slipknot, Stone Sour are, big influences. And then stuff like, who else? Like Mudvayne, just
Hmm.
kind of naming off bands from like the early 2000s that I was into way back when. Definitely kind of those styles is something I was mimicking a lot in high school.
Hmm. I like I like I'm realizing now like this is the moment I'm having a breakthrough. But I'm a sponge for information when it comes to learning new things.
Hmm.
But while I was terrible at learning to play the guitar, I somehow learned to determine what band is which just by guitar sound alone.
Then their tone is coming through, and the guitar player is doing their job very well.
Yeah, well, even then, like there's a specific sound that specific bands put out, like Megadeth. To this day, I can still tell if Megadeth is playing just by guitar, and that's like the only band. So I can be out in public. It's like, oh, Megadeth's playing somewhere.
Yeah, it's all about. I mean, you talk about people that are into pedals. I mean, there's Tonechasers that just they try really hard to dial in their sound and their tone, and that's a huge thing to pick up on. If you can tell that that guitar player or that band is playing, that means they're sticking out to you. That means they're sticking out to a lot of other people, and that's probably why they're very successful as well.
So, did you ever get like, did you ever have that idealized like your dream guitar sort of thing?
Um, I do now, even though I can play less of Teen Spirit than when I was really trying to. Yeah, I'm not a guitar player, but I really enjoy guitar driven music. I am very into progressive metal, also known as a gent, quote unquote,
Mm-hmm.
which is very, very guitar and tone oriented. So things like intervals, things like Born of Osiris, the guitar player Lee McKinney, his solo album is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And also Animals as Leaders, Scale to Summit. A lot of those bands play types of guitars. The brand is called Kiesel. And
Mm-hmm.
those guitars are absolutely gorgeous looking. And that is, it's Lee McKinney, the guitar player of Born of Osiris, has his special line or his actual line. I forget the name of it. I think it's called Sully Blue. It's the blue that would be Sully from Monsters Inc. That color, but translated in guitar,
I see what you
and
mean.
it
Yeah.
is a very very beautiful guitar. It doesn't have a head on it, so it just has the neck, and it's very beautiful guitar.
Huh. I
So anything like that, any kind of headless guitar type of style is something I would definitely go towards if I were to play.
Hmm. I what I saw an advertisement for a Epiphone SG,
Hmm.
and I so I own three guitars.
Nice.
One I got for free, which is a hand me down. It's this midnight blue guitar, electric guitar. I can't remember what the company is, and then I got another one for Christmas that's signed by Brian Bell from Weezer.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then I had this dream guitar that I wanted to get because oh, I can start a band,
Yeah, exactly.
and I'm like, I want a cherry red Epiphone SG, and come to find out, it is one of the cheapest guitars you can buy at Guitar Center.
Interesting.
I got it for like I think $125.
It's a steal.
Yeah, and I I went in there. I had saved money from doing chores and all this. I'm like, I could buy my own guitar, and I saved like $200 because I was expecting that, and I think my dad said he was gonna pay the difference or something to that effect. And so like I walk in, and I'm like, "One Epiphone SG, please," and they point me over to the wall. I'm like, "Perfect, 125." I'm like, "Nice." And now
There
that
you go.
now that I look back on it, I'm like, yeah, that is a fairly cheap guitar, but I've taken good care of it. Is the good thing.
And there you go. I mean, I was just talking to my dad yesterday. I went over to my parents' house and we ended up just walking around and catching up outside. And he is a big Fender fan and he collects all of the like 10, 20, 30 year anniversary guitars that they put out.
Mm.
And he has, I think, this 40 or 50th one and a couple others. And he was just saying that, I only play them once every couple of years, and as long as you take care of them, they're going to stay in tune, they're going to hold their value, and they're going to sound amazing. And that's exactly right. If you take care of them, I mean, you can have those things forever.
Well, like, I haven't even played mine in years, but like even now, I can still hear like the tuning scales in my head,
Yeah.
and like I, it's, what's the term? I think I've done it so much that it's become a Pavlovian response. That like somebody will strum a guitar, I'm like, God, that's out of tune.
It's like, I gotta fix it.
I gotta fix it. I gotta fix it. Like especially with music. So, how often do you listen to music on YouTube?
It used to be pretty exclusively. I didn't really get into Spotify or Pandora or anything else. I never really enjoyed just kind of playlisting like that. I always kind of just wanted to do it myself. So if it wasn't on my phone, I would just, type in a band name and just kind of scroll through until I find whatever I wanted to listen to.
For me, it depends on what I'm doing. Like if I'm here at home and I'm editing something, it's gonna be on YouTube. But if I'm like going downtown and I don't want to have my phone in my hand the whole time, then I'll turn on Spotify.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I do have Apple Music, so a lot of times I'll just download the whole album onto my phone and just kind of cruise, or just hit shuffle as well to have sort of the similar effect. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's all situational for sure.
What are you listening to currently?
Currently, um, the Lee McKinney album Infinite Mind has been playing quite a bit recently in my car.
Mm.
Um, what else? I'm on my phone doing this right now, where I just like go through my list of stuff. But a drummer and guitar player named Anoop Satri, he was in the band Monuments, which is another one of those gent or progressive metal bands.
Okay.
He he has a solo album. He has probably about 5 of them at this point. And
Mm.
there's one song, I think it's on the Illuminate album, and it's called Where I Belong. And I forget the singer's name on that track, but he's now the singer of the band Monuments. That
Hmm.
song I've been listening to on repeat the last few days. It's just a very heavy and melodic at the same time song. So that's something I've been really, really going towards, just that direction lately.
Hmm. I've been I'm whenever it comes to music, I'm very much all over the road. Like certain bands, it'll be maybe one or two songs, and then everybody else, it's like the whole album.
Hmm.
And so it's like the Doom and Doom Eternal soundtracks by Mick Gordon.
I know those, yeah.
Oh, those are beautiful, and I love them. And
Very, very good.
I highly recommend you party people at home check that out. Um, I'm pointing at nothing. You, but, but
You over there. Maybe it's a ghost, maybe it's my imagination.
the specter in the corner of my room.
If it's real, we'll never know.
It doesn't translate well over audio.
Not whatsoever.
But it'll be like Megadeth and Slayer and Metallica, like older Metallica, and then it's like Queen and Franz Ferdinand and the Correspondence, just back and forth all over the road.
Absolutely. And, a lot of people try to just say, oh, I only listen to one genre, or like I listen to all. I wouldn't say I listen to all. there are some, I don't gravitate towards,
Mm.
but I definitely do have a very wide variety. Like I said, Slipknot and a lot of those early 2000 metal bands, and then I'll have stuff like Pink Floyd, and then some of more of the newer kind of metal bands, Born of Osiris, Valamaya, Periphery, a lot of those kind of Jenny kind of bands, and then I'll even have, old school Nelly.
Mm.
I'll have like some rap and stuff in there just because it'll just remind me of, middle school and high school. So I have a lot of nostalgia on my phone as well when it comes to music.
LL Cool J, Busta Rhymes.
Exactly.
I so what is your opinion on country music?
That is interesting because
That's a good answer.
my girlfriend is into some country. So it's definitely, she runs the gambit along with me. She'll listen to, A Day to Remember in bands like that, in kind of that vein.
Mm.
And then she'll listen to Luke Combs, which is won me over when it comes to, some country. I do think he is very good, along with Chris Stapleton as well, is very talented.
Mm.
But beyond that, I do think it's sort of a beer billboard of sorts.
Yeah.
Like it's definitely a lot of marketing of, I use this brand or I drink this beer, and it's a lot of that. So I tend to stay away from things that are like so over commercialized, and that's kind of,
Mm.
it's not that I dislike it or hate it, because there is some that I will be like, oh, okay, that's kind of catchy. But I do think that that genre has somewhat of an issue with that, in my opinion.
I I'm not a like whenever I listen to like whenever I happen to hear a country song, it's like, all right, they're gonna mention a truck. Wait for it.
Yeah,
I'm in the back of my truck. I'm like, of course.
yeah.
But there are certain songs I enjoy out of sort of older country, not older country, but I like ones that are they're almost making fun of themselves in a way.
Hmm.
Like I think was it Garth Brooks had one. It was called "As Good as I Ever Was," and it's about him just like getting older and not being as like cool and suave as he used to be.
I don't know if I've ever heard that song. I'll have to look that up.
It's a good one. And then what was the name of the? He's in nationwide commercials with Peyton Manning.
Oh, God, I know he has the cowboy
Brad
hat on.
Paisley.
Yes, Brad Paisley.
He had a song years ago when I was in middle school called "I'm So Much Cooler Online,"
I've heard that song.
and I genuinely enjoy that one because it's like again that sort of like making fun of yourself.
Yeah, like I definitely like that kind of thing. I understand it because my girlfriend broke it down. She's just kind of like, it's not even so much of, what they're saying. It just kind of puts you in a different kind of mood, like everything's all right kind of mood. And I definitely subscribe to that. So I mean,
Mm.
again, never say never. I do have a couple on my phone, but it's definitely the genre I listen to probably the least.
I had I put out a vague plea for help because recently I've been doing like Doom 2016 gameplay,
Cool.
and I made the mistake of while editing that footage listening to the Doom soundtrack. And so I'm not much of a headbanger, but sometimes when nobody's looking, and I had a moment where I was like having a really hard time because I kept headbanging to the music, and I'm like I can't see my monitor because like moving all the time.
Yeah, I occasionally headbang in my car when I'm at red lights and people look at me, and then I just point at them and sing to them, and it's kind of awkward, kind of funny.
You just gotta
So
throw up the horns at him.
exactly, you just gotta, just have some fun with it.
Oh man, you ever listened to Tenacious D?
Oh, Jack Black, yes I do.
Mm-hmm. I grew up with that band.
Yeah, I mean, Tribute is it. That's such a great song. That's never not going to be a great song, in my opinion.
I like how it, like, just looking at it for what the song Tribute is, it's about a song that they never even, like, recite.
Exactly.
Was also a Wonder Boy is great.
Is that another Tenacious D song?
Yeah, it's right after I'm remembering their album now. Great. It's right after Tribute. Oh, I think we've lost him. Future me, cut this out. Oh. 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 Hello?
Hello? I think we got disconnected.
Oh.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, okay.
Clear as day.
What was the last part that you heard?
You started a sentence and then I look over and your icon's gone and I started going, uh-oh.
Ah. Well, I'll sum it up by just saying I know some of Tenacious D, like some of the songs like Effort Gently, but I don't know like a ton of the song names.
Or Kibasa Sausage.
Don't know that song name.
That's a good one.
I'll have to check it out.
That whole album was like through my teenage years, that was sort of the 1 second. Future me, cut that out. It was sort of the album that like my dad treated like it was like contraband, not so much of like, oh, you can't listen to it, but like we'd be in the garage and he'd like look around, he's like, you want to listen to some Tenacious D?
Nice.
Because he had like the surround sound in his garage, man.
Oh, nice. That had to sound good then.
Oh yes.
That was kind of like how I forget what it was called, but there was a Weird L tape that I had that was the same kind of thing that my parents never wanted me to listen to.
Was it Butt Trumpets?
I don't know. It was definitely in the early 90s. I'm a 90s kid, so...
Same here.
Yeah, I was born in 89, but I'm a 90s kid. But I don't recall the actual name of it, though.
Do you like punk rock?
I do. I like a lot of ska more than punk rock. So I like Streetlight Manifesto, Big D and the Kids Table, Less Than Jake. Those are kind of the three that I stick towards most of the time. How about you?
I like my repertoire has been growing recently. I've been trying to catch up with like the Vandals.
Oh yeah.
And Butt Trumpets, as mentioned earlier. I didn't make that up. If you want a good high energy song that's great for when you're like you want to get something done and you want to get it done fast, there's a song called I've Been So Mad Lately.
Okay.
And it's like 2.5 minutes of the vocalist is it's a female singer, but she's got just this like really just she's great at just screaming into the microphone.
That's awesome.
And it's 2.5 minutes of just like, pardon my French, but like just like fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
It's called I've Been So Mad Lately.
Yes, and the
Okay.
You'll see the album cover on YouTube. It's very distinct.
All right, I'll look that up after this.
Yeah, and there's another one by them that I was shown when I was a kid called I'm Ugly and I Don't Know Why.
I love names like that.
I just like I need to catch up because like I'm slowly kind of not moving out into like different genres, but I'm going deeper into genres I haven't explored before.
Yeah.
And so, like, apparently, we've had in this house, we've had a like a tape of butt trumpets from like the 90s.
Oh, really?
And I just recently had seen it, and then my mom told me about it. She's like, you gotta look them up. What are you doing? I'm like, that's on you. You're supposed to tell me. I also love my fair share of, like, there certainly are different songs that are only available on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely.
What was them? Have you played Doom at all?
Not too much. I have a couple friends that are really into it.
Have you heard of Animal Crossing?
Yes, I have.
So there's been this long running gag for when, so the new Animal Crossing and the new Doom came out on the same day, and the long running joke is that the main character from Doom and one of the central characters from Animal Crossing are best friends.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very different games in tone. One's happy and, you know, fun, and you're collecting coins and whatnot, and the other is murdering demons with your bare hands.
So definitely North and South Pole of things.
Oh yes, but somebody made a wonderful song that I highly suggest checking out. It's called Eternal Horizons.
Okay.
And it takes both of those tones and it puts them together really well.
Oh, I can't wait to hear that. That sounds awesome.
It's all cutesy, and then you hear just a huge, like, bass chord. Just, it's great. Oh my goodness. Do you, can you recommend any songs that are YouTube only or YouTube exclusive?
There's a band called Kissing Candace. I'm not sure if you know who they are or not, but they're another masked type band with more of the horror kind of aesthetic, kind of along the same lines as like a Slipknot-esque, but I would say they're starting out ish. They're getting bigger as they go on. But there is a song called Ghosted that I was really into for quite a few months. It's not on Apple Music. I don't know if it's available anywhere else, but the music video is pretty cool. I really like the chorus of that song, and that's a band I've been following for about 6 months and ended up listening to pretty much their whole catalog of stuff by now. But yeah, the song called Ghosted by Kissing Candace is very good.
I'll have to check that. I have a separate tab open so I can check it out right after this.
Nice.
But I think with this, we will call it to a close. We are, I believe, closing in on the 52-minute mark here.
Sounds good.
I thank you very much, Scream With Me, for coming on. I had a blast talking to you. Loved talking music with you.
Absolutely. It was an honor to be on your show.
Yeah. And all of you wonderful party people at home, still pointing at nothing, please go check out Scream With Me. I'm personally going to watch that entire back catalog of videos. I've seen a couple, but I'm going to watch all of them.
I appreciate it. And you, I know exactly, you know who you are. The one with the hair in the face. I want you especially to look at that catalog. Yeah,
you bald people not apply. Need not apply.
Yeah. They know who they are.
You know who you are.
Yeah.
But I thank you so much. Links to both your channel, and do you have a video that you would like to have put in the description of this video?
Since we've been talking about it a few times, let's go with the one It Never Ends.
Okay. So
definitely proud of that one. Very, very happy with that.
So please check out It Never Ends on Scream With Me's channel. I do believe I don't think I've watched that one yet. I will have to check it out myself. I will hold myself to the same standard that I hold my party people. And thank you again, Stream With Me, for coming on. And I hope everybody, including you, non-specific party people, have a very nice day.
Thanks again for having me on. I really appreciate it.